In a past video, I talked about lost media that had their searches abandoned and forgotten for one reason or another. While these searches stand out in their own right, I think there's another adjacent category that is unique in the grand scheme. They say the ultimate enemy to being lost is being found, and that is certainly true in our community. It can be fun to look back at the successful lost media searches of the past and see how we solved them. We all know the mythical stories of Clockman, Cracks, Crybaby Lane, Rhapsody Street Kids, and even A Day with SpongeBob SquarePants to some extent. Most people were introduced to lost media through these searches, hence why they are still fondly remembered and talked about years after they ended. But there's some searches that, while popular in their heyday and seemingly headed for that same mythical status, fizzled out after either being found or when a fitting conclusion was made. This is a phenomenon I like to call found media rot, where after some pieces of lost media get discovered, they are often thrown aside and forgotten about in the rapidly changing landscape of the community. Today I want to shine a light on this forgotten found media, see why they were sought after in their time, document the searches that led to their discovery, and finally conclude why they suffered from found media rot. This video was recommended by Kiyokari4, so special thanks to them for the idea. And now, some previously lost media that time forgot. I'm still on a big SpongeBob kick after that last big adventure, so let's ease ourselves out of it with a bit of a chaser. You know, like Mr. Krabs. I may be cheating just a little bit with this one, as it's technically not completely found, but the original search did come to a conclusion, and its forgotten impact on lost media is what inspired me to make this video in the first place. Parodies of everyone's favorite sea sponge are nothing new, as they have existed since the show's initial burst of popularity. But what makes this parody interesting is just how official it is. In 2003, the animation team for the SpongeBob SquarePants video game Employee of the Month created a short that was a spoof on the second film in the popular Matrix franchise, Reloaded. The short was titled SpongeBob Rehydrated, because Big Water says you must drink more water. It spoofed a teaser trailer where SpongeBob, dressed like Neo, absolutely decimates a group of Patricks dressed as Agent Smith. It's just as poetic and beautiful as it sounds. But for the longest time, no one knew what the hell it was. It was first brought to attention in January 2016 when a thread was made on 4chan's Coboard about it with the title, "Oh boy, another lost SpongeBob thing." The only known footage at the time was two very brief clips in a 2003 bumper for Nicktoons Network. Word quickly spread from there, with various theories stating it was a game cutscene, commercial, fan animation, or even an entire lost episode, ignoring the fact that it is clearly CGI instead of the show's usual 2D art style. One anonymous user claimed that it was a 10-minute short titled The Sponge Tricks, and it was available on a Jimmy Neutron home media release. This was eventually proven false, however. Finally, in April, more footage of the short was found on a portfolio for Goopy Rossi, an animator who worked at Nick Digital in the early 2000s. While the new footage revealed many previously unknown details, such as the actual title, it added yet another layer of the mystery, as any attempts to reach out to Rossi about it ended in utter silence. Even the sponge god of information himself, current showrunner Vincent Waller, was contacted about the short. He called it bogus, before admitting he knew nothing about it. So with all leads exhausted and nowhere to go, the rehydrated mystery went stagnant. But then, a certain content creator opened his mouth and regurgitated all of the information into our pie holes just like he always does. I'm of course talking about Veilskibum94. He made a video about Rehydrated using all of the most trusted info from Twitter and WatchMojo.com. Despite the inaccuracies contained within, it revived interest in the search so much so that Randy Gossman, an animator who worked on Rehydrated, responded with a forum post on Encyclopedia SpongeBobia in April 2017. He stated that the short was not fan-made, nor was it made by the main SpongeBob team. It was instead made as a little something extra by the Employee of the Month animators, hence why the models look so similar to the 3D SpongeBob games. It was never officially released on any home media, and Nick instead used it for promotional material. But most importantly of all, he confirmed that the roughly 40 seconds of footage online were all that was made. After this post, most would seemingly move on from the Rehydrated search. Randy answered most of the questions people initially had, and many felt that the search reached a fitting conclusion. Despite what many people think, SpongeBob Rehydrated is still partially lost to this very day, as Gosman stated that the short had an original audio track with sound effects, of which is still not available. But most people nowadays don't really seem to care. I can attribute this to the abrupt response by Randy, which caught many off guard due to the lack of good info before and led most people to believe that the short was entirely found. All of this went down more than a half-decade ago, and since then, the search has continually faded from recent memory. There's far more lost media cooked in the kitchen than there were back in 2017, with bigger and better searches clogging up the spotlight. It would be cool one day to see the short in a complete fashion, but unless the search gets a miraculous boost in popularity again, it will have to come off of a complete whim. For now, SpongeBob Rehydrated will remain incomplete. And now to the actual found media. It's no stretch to say that King of the Hill is one of the most beloved shows in the history of adult animated television. The adventures of Hank Hill and his family have captivated audiences insane enough to understand the sheer complexities of Texas life. But another show was planned as a unique, live-action expansion to the Hilliverse. In 2000, Fox commissioned a pilot starring Monsignor Martinez, the action-packed Catholic priest who stars in the in-universe telenovela Las Noches de Monsignor Martinez. The pilot, titled In the Beginning, was written by King of the Hill creators Mike Judge and Greg Daniels, along with executive producer Jim Doderive. Unfortunately, despite its great ambitions, Fox did not pick it up for a full series for unknown reasons. David Herman, who voices John Smith in the pilot, has stated however that Fox didn't pick it up because they didn't want to risk the backlash that could come with a gun-wielding priest. This led to the pilot fading into obscurity and becoming an urban legend among online King of the Hill communities. But as unique as this pilot is, the search surrounding it might be even more interesting. In August 2019, a user by the name of Juanito Say posted to the King of the Hill subreddit with the title, "I have a copy of Monsignor Martinez pilot, !!!!!!!!!!" You know, I'm starting to think he has a copy of the Monsignor Martinez pilot. In the post, he goes on to explain that he is an Argentine YouTuber who found 3 copies of the pilot and is developing a video documentary about it. He claimed that he likely couldn't release the pilot in full, but could provide clips of it in the documentary. It was planned to release roughly 10 days after the post was made. Some people began to call his bluff on having the pilot, but then, OP came in clutch by uploading 4 seconds of it in another post a day later. It shows Monsignor Martinez saying his famous catchphrase, "Vaya con Dios," or "go with God," before 2 people get sucked into an airplane propeller. As for the documentary, the 10 days came and went without a release, but OP was adamant that it would eventually come out and was even planning an interview with the pilot's lead actor, Ivo Kutsarida. It's been more than 4 years since we last heard from him about the pilot, and we have no clue what happened to that documentary. Around the same time, the Cinedump website published an editorial written by Jesse Hobson saying that Joe Kleeman, a member of the media collector group VHS Misfits, had acquired a VHS copy of the pilot from producer Stu Segal. This copy was seemingly a rough cut, with missing audio tracks and substandard audio quality throughout. He had reportedly been screening it privately at his home and wanted to get the go-ahead from Mike Judge to release it. These were 2 separate entities that were confirmed to have the pilot, and yet both were scared of the legal curtain that could come down if they put it up for the world to see. And it would stay that way until July 6th, 2021, when user Gabriel Ernesto Cabriel uploaded the full pilot to YouTube, ending the search in a very sudden fashion. It feels like this and Rehydrated are mostly forgotten today because of the very abrupt ways in which their hunt ended. It really did feel like a ton of build-up for a very anticlimactic ending. Only this time, the piece of media in question was completely found. Don't get me wrong, I was ecstatic to see this pilot get released after such a long time. I watched part of it and it is quite action-packed and funny, and I think they could have at least gotten a season out of it. But I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles. There are many paths to victory in the lost media scene, and Monsignor Martinez is still a major example of that in action. So, remember this kid?
Wait a minute! Who are you? I think we're gonna be friends.
Special friends.
This is Brett Ambler, who became a meme in the mid-2010s due to his incredible ability to play the kazoo and his ability to break the fourth wall by calling us his special friend. His origins point to the VHS tape Special Friends You Want Kazoo, where Brett and a bunch of other kids sing, dance, and most importantly strike a chord on the kazoo where it was probably A minor. And yes, it did actually come with a physical kazoo. But what you might have not known is that Special Friends is an entire trilogy of children's musical tapes, with the first being You Want Kazoo in 1989, followed by Let's Sing Along in 1990 and Ring Along Sing Along in 1991. These tapes were produced by famed toy company Melissa and Doug. They are even listed in the credits. That third one is notable as for a long time, barely anyone knew of its existence. The first two tapes were readily available online and have garnered millions of views on YouTube each. But Ring Along Sing Along flew under the radar until Brett himself confirmed its existence in a 2016 Reddit AMA. He stated, "There are actually 3 videos out there. The last one was called Ring Along Sing Along and came with jingle bells. I don't remember much of that one, but it's out there somewhere." This led to a search forming around this piece of internet phenomena. Some users did find listings of the tape at various public libraries, but requests to get them were not successful. It wasn't until February 25th, 2018 when the search was resolved. A new YouTube channel was created titled Special Friend, where then Ring Along Sing Along would be uploaded. And who would be the person behind this upload? Why, it would turn out to be Emily Shornick, one of the children featured in the production, who was given a copy of the tape by an anonymous fan. That's nice. It's the usual Special Friends affair. Brett calls upon you, he meets the other kids, they sing, dance, and go as wild as they can be without any parental supervision. And yet it still doesn't feel like a complete experience because we viewers don't have the privilege to use the jingle bells that came in the box. Ring Along Sing Along really was a sort of flash in the pan in terms of lost media, with the search ending quite unceremoniously. I feel like its connection to the You on Kazoo meme should have strengthened its legacy, but you really don't hear many people bring it up today. Hell, most people who have watched it might not even be aware that it was lost media to begin with. But now you know, and now you can tell all of your special friends about it so they know as well. We cannot let the legacy of Ring Along Sing Along die out. Speaking of not letting something die out, it's time for me to milk my most popular video for all it's worth. Back in the ye olden days of 2021, I made a video about the various lost international adaptations of Blue's Clues. Despite my squeaky voice and it sounding like I read right off of an LMW article, the video kinda blew up for my standards. For all of you who discovered my channel through that video, you'll be glad to hear that there's been plenty found from those adaptations since then that I feel hasn't gotten enough coverage. First, there's the British adaptation, hosted by our good friend Kevin Duala. Just kidding, I don't even know him, but he seems pretty cool. Last time we left off, 70 episodes of the British version were online thanks to user Mr. WimpyKid27, but they have since been archived elsewhere as his channel was terminated. The Baby's Here, Something to Do Blue, Blue's Backyard Ballgame Bonanza, I'm So Happy, and Can You Help were the only episodes not available. But luckily on June 10th, 2022, Discord user The Tunes of Josh 61708 shared a Google Drive link containing all 5 missing episodes, rendering the British adaptation completely found. As for the Korean adaptation, unfortunately it doesn't seem like much has been unearthed since the last video. It's still the adaptation we know the least about and have the least amount of footage from. At least we've confirmed more episode titles, so it's not a complete wash. And finally, there's our old pal Duarte from As Pistas de Blue, the Portuguese adaptation of the show. From where we last left off, 60 episodes were fully available and only 18 episodes of the show were either partially or completely lost. A relatively small margin to begin with. Nowadays, that number is down to just 3. Only 1 episode, the 4th, is completely lost, while 2 just have small clips. Speaking of which, here's how one of those clips start. Indeed, very strange. It could really only take another small push to get the Portuguese version completely available, just like with the British version. The international adaptations of Blue's Clues are underrated classics of lost media, and prove to us that when people come together in this community, we can achieve great things. I'm glad I got the chance to cover them when I did. To cap off this grand adventure, I want to cover some game show stuff. My second favorite genre of lost media. Beat Shazam is literally just named that tune, an already mind-numbingly simple game show, so much so that its concept is explained in the title, except you have to name the tune faster than the app Shazam. It premiered on Fox in 2017 and I remember seeing promos for it back in the day. It's not exactly an eye-catching or unique show, but they've been keeping it going for 7 seasons at this point, so I guess there's gotta be at least 12 people watching it on any given day. On the contrary, there's one segment from the show that has stood out due to its former lost media status. You see, a main appeal of Beat Shazam is the celebrity guest stars that occasionally appear on the show, ranging from MC Hammer to Shaq to Snoop Dogg. But one celebrity appearance that didn't make it to air was by singer-slash-songwriter and former Disney star Demi Lovato. The episode was meant to air on July 24th, 2018, but in an unfortunate coincidence, earlier that day, Lovato experienced a drug overdose, being sent to the hospital and recovering later that day. Fox pulled the broadcast, and the episode wouldn't air until September 11th with the segment cut out. Only production stills and a single promo remained of the appearance. Later on, something surprising was afoot. Game TV, a Canadian channel that airs old game shows, announced to the world that Beat Shazam would be added to their lineup on September 22nd, 2020. Included in one of the promos was a clip of the episode, leading for speculation to run rampant as to if it would actually air uncut. Our speculations were confirmed on September 29th, when the episode did air with the Lovato segment intact, and my friend ComedyFan74 was able to catch it. A lot of the initial interest in this search came with how recent the media in question was. Usually when searching for lost media, you're expecting something to be 2 or 3 decades old at least. But Beat Shazam is a still ongoing show, making it a major anomaly, and thus I feel that its uniqueness should be more well understood as lost media in the digital age. And that right there is your delicious dish of previously lost media that time forgot. A lot of the found media in this video varied in their actual notoriety, but all of them I feel could at least be recognized by your average lost media onlooker. Their stories are notable in various ways, but I hoped you at least learned something new today. SpongeBob Rehydrated, Monsignor Martinez, Ring Along Sing Along, the various Blue's Clues adaptations, and Beat Shazam. Yeah, I know it's all television stuff, but I couldn't really find any good examples of movies, music, or even video games. Feel free to prove me wrong down in the comments below though. Found media rot is a truly interesting phenomenon. This has been BrayBray, thanks for watching, like, subscribe, and remember that Buff Yoshi is forever supreme.
All kinds of games.